Hi everyone. For hour 10, I wanted to give you an overview of the game itself. Obviously, you're going to need to go through step by step in the chapter itself, in the book itself, to create this game. The idea of this video is to give you an overall view of what you should be creating and what you should have for the game itself, and maybe a little bit here and there we'll look at what could some of the problems could be that you may have, and then we'll look at the script too, give a thorough or a more better explanation of what the script is doing, and then also in terms of like maybe how you can use the script in future games that you will be creating. So as you can see, we have the completed game, and let me go into the play mode and just see what the game's supposed to. Keep in mind, what is supposed to happen is that, for example, the red ball, the green ball, blue, and yellow, orange ball. Basically, the idea of the game is that they're supposed, like the red ball is supposed to, when it hits to the red goal area, it will turn off the light, and then the goal will be enabled. Then the green ball will go to there, and then it'll again, when it hits that, it'll turn off the light on there on the green goal, and then the blue ball to the blue goal, and the orange to the orange ball to the orange ball goal. And once that happens, then you have won the game. Okay, and then we have the chaos balls. You know, bouncing will be bouncing all over the place, hitting the these other balls, and then the bumper, which is attached to um, the FPS controller, and you'll be moving around to try to move or make it bounce to the each of the goals. Okay, so let's see how it plays out. All right, so already there's one goal turned off. So I'm gonna ah, ah, all right. Okay, there you go. So it got pushed in there. Now all the goals are turned off, and the lights are turned off. Okay, and as you can see, it says game over. All right. So that's the idea of the game. Um, so let's look at what's going on here. All right. So we have our plane basically, and there's a texture placed on it, right? So that's what you need to do, or material. So material is placed on there. You got your plane, you got the water boundaries around there, some more of that. You got the walls. So this is, you've created a game empty object, and you have each of the individual walls. Okay, so easy enough to do, create. And then you have your FPS controller, so which you need to download the standard assets. Keep in mind, use the standard essential assets that I've provided for you guys. And so anyway, so you're going to use that from your standard assets under characters and so on. Bring it up there. Um, you'll need to make some changes to it. Again, go through the book, but as as we can do a quick look on here. You're going to be changing the run speed, maybe. Yes, actually, jump speed. You're going to be cutting that down. Use of head bob, you don't need that. The X sensitivity, the maximum, and so on. So you're gonna be making some changes on there in terms of the FPS controller. Okay, so it's not bobbing up and down as you move it. If, for example, if I use head bob, when I run, notice how it starts, shaking all over the place, which doesn't make any sense. Right? Anyway, so make sure you uncheck that in this situation. Okay, so check that. I mean, not a big deal, but it's something to make sure you do. You'll notice when you are working through the book that it asks you to create a empty game object, which is basically like a folder, where you're going to keep the different chaos balls. And the chaos balls you can see are the yellow ones, not the orange, but the yellow balls, which you're going to make it a certain size. You're going to apply a material to it, change it to color yellow. You're going to add, as you can notice right here, a rigid body to it. You're going to uncheck use gravity, so make sure you do that. And then you're going to add the velocity script and the start speed of 50. You notice everything was bouncing around, right? In the previous chapter, hour 9, when we applied a bouncing material, we added it. For example, if you look at the chaos ball here, we added it to the collider, but notice it doesn't have it on there. See, it doesn't have it here, or the colliders for the red ball, blue ball, red ball, and so on, or even the walls. Okay, so that's because it got, otherwise you would have to apply it to each of those if you wanted to make sure they was all bouncy. So basically we just changed in terms of the settings so that everything would be applied on there. Okay, so for example, make sure you go to the project settings and then the physics, and then right here the default material, that you apply the super bouncer once you create the material, which the book will show you how to do that. Okay. All right, so make sure that you do that, because otherwise it's not going to bounce around as you saw earlier when we were playing. The other option obviously is to go into every one of those particular colliders and then apply the super bouncy or whatever type of materials you're going to apply. The important part here is that you, for the chaos ball, for example, in each one of those, that you've added the rigid body and you uncheck use gravity. Make sure that use gravity is unchecked from there, and then that the start speed is set at 50. And we'll look at the script on that. This is the velocity script that we're using. Now, if you notice on the other blue ball here, and it will be the same for the red ball, green ball, and so on. If you'll notice that one of the important things here, very important, is the tag. Okay, so the tag on here, as you'll notice, it says blue. So you'll see that we have green, orange. So each of the balls will have a tag, which is going to be used in the script. And then you can add the tag by selecting add tag. You won't see these. You have to click add tag, and then you have to add them yourself by clicking on here and so on. The book again will show you how to do that. All right, so again, make sure, notice the chaos ball does not have its untagged, but the blue ball and the other ones, red ball, again, they have their tags. Okay, and you'll notice in terms of the goals, when we go to the goals, and by the way, this is we created an empty game object, which essentially is kind of used as a folder, so that we can keep these in there. All right, so that we can keep it organized and so on. Okay, so if you look at the blue goal here, there are a few things that, again, these are empty game objects that are created, but you add a box collider, and that's important to make it to the correct size, so that, if you notice on here, see the box collider, and you have to change the size here. Make sure that you make it the correct size. So notice right here, if I change it here, how it changes in terms of the size there. You see? So again, we'll keep that at 2, and that's it. Agree. All right. Also, you're adding a light component. So these are components, right? And then you're adding the script itself. And make sure this is unchecked. Do not check it, because it's not right now it's not solved, is unsolved, and we want to unchecked, and we'll go over the script on that and check that out. So each one of those are set up that way, and then you're going to create another empty game object and name it Game Manager. And then once you add the Game Manager script, so let's go to the script here. Here's the Game Manager script, which you add to that, and you're going to get these properties that are going to be empty. And then you need to click on the selector there, and then choose the particular goals that you need, or basically you click and drag it onto there, okay? And that's basically what you're going to be doing for each of these, and you've had experience with that before. All right, so for the most part, that's how you want to make sure everything is set up, okay? So that your game works like it's supposed to, as you saw it work before. So anyway, so let's go into the Visual Studio and let's look at the different scripts. So here we have the velocity script, all right, and here's the public float. This is what allows us right here. This particular function allows us to be able to, if you'll notice when we go into, let's see here, the blue goal, the chaos ball, or the blue ball, anyway, that has the velocity script. So the start speed is, this is making it public, is what allows, and when you type in float, this allows us to add this number right here, okay? And so if you'll notice, for the chaos ball, it's already set at 50, and this is where that comes in. So for these other balls, the color balls, you have to change that to 25. So remember that the default, when you add the script, is going to be 50, right? And then basically in the start function, we have what we wanted to do is access the rigid body, okay? And here is what we're telling to do that, and then we're given an instance name. We're telling to get to that particular component, and then we're telling it to access the different vectors, so it starts moving in the different x, y, z values. And in this particular one, as you can see, we are using the start speed right here, instance name, which is set to 50, and so that's where it's, all we do is substitute that instance name. We don't have to type in the number, but here we do. Here we have to type in 0F. This should be F. Oops, F. Okay, and then as you'll notice here, we're using a so X, Y, Z. So we're not having it go up. We want to make sure it doesn't bounce up, so that's why it's set at 0. Okay. All right. So then the goal script, which if you remember, we in terms of the goals, we go to the goals and it's set at no, we added and it is solved. It's not checked, and that's because we set it to false. Okay, if it were set to true, it would be checked, and we're making this a public boolean, so true or false, and we're setting it at the beginning to be false. That is now solved, right? And then untrigger enter, that should be familiar to you guys from the previous chapter. Collider, which is the instance name we're going to be using. The game object collide with equals collider game object. Basically, that this function here, what we wanted to do is that when it collides with one other object, so here's the goal script so that it's keeping track of that. So if the tag of the goal matches the tag of the other game object, which is the color ball, then it will set it, because it's already set to false, it will set it to true. It's solved, right? And then it turns, and then we get access to the light, and it turns it off, set to false, and it destroys the object itself right here. So this particular object collide with, right? All right, so let's look at that real quickly. So again, so if the blue goal, here's the tag blue, and the blue ball, again, the tag blue. So that's why you're making both of those the same tag. So if both tags match, then do these things, right? Which we already went over on. Okay, so that's your goal script, and then here's your game manager script. As you can see, to start with, here is again we're setting up public, and we're setting this up as public so that we're able to access that through Unity, and this is private, so it only gets access through the script right here and not any of these other scripts. Okay, so you'll notice what's different here is that we have the instance name, right? But each one of these is divided by a comma, and that's how we get. Here is our game manager, and that's how we get these three or four different types of properties within the game manager that we need to make sure we fill. So the other issue sometimes that I've noticed is that a lot of students forget to click and drag the goals into the game manager, and so it doesn't work, it doesn't move or something like that. So make sure that you've done that. Okay, so yeah, make sure you set it to true. Is game over? So at the beginning you're going to set it to true, and what you'll notice here is, by the way, you're going to use and. So what you're looking for here is that, or what it's doing is it's going to check if it's the goals have been solved, right? So on each of the goals, the blue, green, red, and orange, if it's solved, once each of them, once the ball matches the other ball, the ball matches the goal, it'll be set to solved. Once all four of them is solved, then this right here will be set. Will have that particular attribute. So that instance will have that particular attribute, right? So then, if it's true, if this is true, if this has happened all here, then it will set. This will be displayed, meaning the game is over, right? So basically, that's how this is the game manager set up. So again, as you can see with the script, you can use a velocity script for a number of things you may want to use, or even just to know that this is how you would access a particular game component. Another important thing I think is important in this goal script is to be able to know how to destroy objects, or be able to access or turn off a light or turn it on. If it's already off and you turn it on, you can do all kinds of stuff like that. You can set things up so that there's multiple objects that need to be solved before it's considered to be over, or turn on, or move on to the next level, or something like that. So that's how you can maybe use that. Again, if you need to set this up where you want to be able to make sure you access certain type of game objects that need to be set up correctly, this is where you would use your public function. All right, so anyway, and then in terms of the GUI graphic user interface, you can use this. This is one of the things you can, in terms of setting this up. In terms of like if you want it to show up, you can also combine some of this if you wanted to. You can add to this in terms of the timer. If you remember, you can, if you go back to the Amazing Race, it's set up similarly. You can look at that, add to that if you want to. That's the part of the extra credit, and so on. So anyway, so keep these these things I told you in mind in terms of when you're working with your different type of scripts. And that's about it.